Spotlight after a brief holiday celebration. I hope everyone had an enjoyable Emancipation celebration. This evening, I'm joined by the Deputy General Manager of the BVI Electricity Corporation, Mr. Henry Cricky, and the Head of the Generation Department, Mr. Chaswell Valac. And we're going to be discussing the BVI Electricity Corporation expansion project, the power outages, and alternative sources of energy. So it's going to be a very important discussion. I invite you to call your family and your friends and tune in, because I know this is an issue, or these are issues that have been on your mind over the last several years, and more recently over several months. So we're going to have a good informative discussion on energy production in the territory tonight. We have the top people here, and I want to welcome them. Immediately welcome Brother Henry and Brother Valac. Good to have you on Spotlight.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much, Ajuanka. Pleasure to be here again.
Yes, indeed. I want to put some context to our energy production, and to talk about first about our demand and our capacity to meet that demand, where we are with that, and why are we having so many power outages of first world countries such as BVI, with all the modern technology and so advanced in the world now. We shouldn't be having power outages.
What I do, it's a lot of questions you asked right there one time. I let Mr. Valac address the issues in terms of our capacity or peak demand, give you some background about the power system in the BVI, and I can speak to you a bit about the outages after he gives some background information.
Okay, good.
Well, currently we have 6 Wärtsilä 9L38 units installed at the plant with a capacity of 5.5 megawatts each. We have 2 older Morley's units with an installed capacity of 2 megawatts at the Pakopam Power Station. Mm-hmm. At the Longbush facility, we have another older Morley's unit rated at 1.6 megawatts, which basically brings our total installed capacity to around 42.6 megawatts. Our current peak demand, which we have experienced for the year, is 33.6 megawatts. Now, our actual installed capacity at the moment is around 35 megawatts, which, as you can appreciate, puts us right on par with our demand.
Okay. So that's interesting, though, because we have a installed capacity of 42.6
mm-hmm.
megawatts, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the right term. But the actual capacity is only 35 megawatts,
mm-hmm.
and our demand is
33.6.
33.6.
That's the peak demand.
That's the peak demand.
Mm-hmm.
So where has the extra gone?
Well, currently we have one of the major units down for major activity, major overhaul, and that's 5.5 megawatts out of the system. And another one of the smaller Morley's units is also down for maintenance, which is 2 megawatts, which brings our total installed, or our total available capacity right now to 35.2 megawatts.
But when you say down for maintenance, how long does maintenance take?
Well, it's a major activity, so it usually, these major activities usually take 6 to 8 weeks to complete.
Oh, okay. But I mean, we've been having power outages periodically on and off for years.
Right.
So, I mean, it would stand to reason that if you have the capacity, you have to maintain a generator, mm-hmm. so they will be down for 6 to 8 weeks, mm-hmm. but you will still be able, with the remaining generating capacity, to maintain the peak demand.
Right.
But that doesn't seem to be happening.
If I could add to that, so that's exactly the crux of the matter where we are now. So the unit that Chaswell just mentioned that is down, that's a normal procedure. So we have to service the engines just like you would service your vehicles at home. But these engines, these are major pieces of equipment, and they take at least 6 weeks usually to do a service on them. So at any given time, you might have at least one big unit down for a service. We expect that. Now with these kind of operating equipment, what will happen is every so often you'll have a minor hiccup, a minor issue with them. So if you have one unit down for service, like we do now, and we're at, say, 35 megawatts, and our peak demand is 32 megawatts, if you have any little thing happen with another issue, let's say a minor issue now, I mean an issue that can be corrected within a matter of hours to 1 day.
And give me an example of some of these types of issues.
You can give some examples that we've been having recently.
For example, recently we've been having some electrical issues on some of the older units. These issues we have identified, but given the current demand and the time it would take to correct these issues, you can't take the unit down because it would take a significant amount of time to correct these electrical issues, these major electrical issues. So given these electrical issues, sometimes, for example, you might have a unit going down because of an alarm or a false alarm, because these are false alarm issues. But the unit was shut down as a means of protection.
So if I could add, so for example, in your car, you have sensors.
Right.
On these engines, you have sensors. So every so often, a unit might shut down because a sensor has a problem. So that once the technicians realize the problem is the sensor and not a real issue, the set, they might replace the sensor. So they get the engine back up within an hour, maybe 2 hours.
Okay.
So
So
that's a minor issue.
those are minor issues.
Right. But for those 2 hours, you only have maybe 30 megawatts of generating capacity, and your demand is 32.
Right. So if it's the peak hours, you have to shed some load.
If it happens
Right.
in peak hours,
Exactly.
right?
Okay. So how old how old are the machines?
Well, the
The average age, so.
the two Morley's units were installed in 1989, if you correct me, Mr. Creaky.
Yeah, the installation probably completed in about 91.
Right, and then the two older Wärtsilä units, they were installed in 1995.
Okay. Those are the ones that we ordered and were having problems with. We ordered some generators from Rolls Royce.
Those gone,
those
yeah,
gone.
So we can't blame the outages on those
And
anymore.
Rolls Royce anymore,
No.
no.
Oh, okay. All right.
Those were
Right.
replaced in 2006,
2005,
2007.
yeah.
Yeah, that time frame there.
So is it a case then that we're not buying or developing enough capacity to meet the demand and to exceed the demand in the event of a generator shutting down?
I would say so, yes. What happens is we do a 10-year development plan that when we're doing one right now to look forward for the next 10 years. And we have consultants who are experts in those fields project how the load will grow based on the economic and population growth of the territory and the way we use power. So they did the last development study, and essentially they had estimated that the project we're doing now should have been done in approximately 2010 to 2012. However, we did not do the project at that time for various reasons. The government, as we all know, is conscious about incurring more debt. And so we were being cautious. And fortunately, I think what happened for the territory in terms of the load, the recession that hit the rest of the world and affected the BVI caused our load growth to flatten for a number of years. So even though we did not put in the additional capacity when we needed to, when the economy started to recover, as it has in certain sectors in the BVI, the load growth started to come back up again and has gotten.
And we weren't prepared.
We won't know. We should have had those engines installed from a few years back, so we weren't as prepared as we should have been. That's correct.
Okay. So now we're trying to play catch up.
That's right.
We're trying to play catch up. And what is our projection regarding the capacity we intend to build with the new project that is being completed as we speak? Are we looking to have enough capacity to say double our peak demand? What's going to be the ratio between the capacity that we intend to have and what we actually need? Is it going to be 2 to 1? That sort of thing.
Yeah, we're looking at around 2 to 1, because we're looking at an addition of 26.4 megawatts, or 24.6 megawatts.
So that is additional to the 42.6.
Right.
Right. Okay. So
That's
you're looking at
60
60
something.
something. So that, yeah.
Double
So
it
you,
for
so, you,
free.
so you'll be
Exactly.
doubling.
Right.
Right.
And even more important than that, so right now, 2.6 is on paper, In reality, the installer is more like 40,
Mm-hmm.
right? So right now you have a reserve margin, even with everything on, you have a reserve margin of maybe 6 point something megawatts. But when you go up to 60 megawatts, you have a reserve margin of 30 something megawatts. Your reserve margin is increasing by maybe 5 times as much as what it is now. So you have a lot more margin, a lot more reserve there. So if one engine shuts down because a sensor is broken or a fuel line develops a leak and you have to take it down, any of these minor issues, you have to take maybe an hour to 5 hours to repair. You just start up another engine that's there standing by instead of having to take off load to make those repairs.
So, in the foreseeable future, we can contemplate not having power outages.
No.
No,
I know that question will come in. No, that's definitely not the case.
So let me see. We would have a significant reduction in power outages. So power outages are caused from a number of different factors. So one issue is a shortfall in your generating capacity, which is the one we're addressing here.
Right.
Power outages happen for other reasons related to weather, for example, right? Vehicles running into poles, all these things. So those incidents will also happen. We do our best to perform maintenance. So we cut trees, keep them clear of lines. We do a number of things to maintain the system. And we also try to make sure that if something happens, our response times are quick enough to restore that power to minimize interruption to customers. But those things will happen from time to time. We'll have those. But the other outages that we have, which may be about half, maybe it's about half and half now, maybe a few more from generation these last few months because of the shortfall, those will be significantly reduced, almost eliminated for quite a while.
Yeah. But you have a 2-to-1 capacity. Have you taken into account the growth in demand for electricity? Homes are building all over the countryside. There is, of course, need for poles and wiring and the whole infrastructure, along with the generating capacity in the plants themselves. How much attention we've paid to the growth in the demand in regards to how much capacity we plan to put in place? Are we going to, in the next 5 years, find ourselves back in the same situation again? Or are we going to be continually monitoring the situation and upgrading? Because it seems like a management problem to me.
Yeah. It's not. It is.
It's a financial problem, obviously.
Right.
But
right.
Are we doing the correct and accurate projections that create a situation where we are preventing rather than waiting to react?
We had, as I said, we had the correct. Somehow, I don't know what math they use, but somehow our projections were fairly accurate, right? So we had the projections, we had the plans, but we didn't execute on them before because of financial reasons, right? So the planning is there. Going forward, we will have to upgrade again. And actually, we were supposed to originally just put in 2 generators. As you said, we're playing catch up. So the 2 were catch up. But the board of directors with the corporation decided, well, no, even though it's a tough financial pill to swallow, let's get ahead. And they made a decision to buy a 3rd engine. So we're actually putting in 3 instead of 4. Instead of 2, sorry, thank you. And we've made preparation for a 4th one that can go in very quickly. We don't have to, the building would have already been built, the foundation is there for it. And so when we are financially ready for the 4th one, we'll be able to put it in very quickly.
The crane just come and put the engine right down on the boat.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's the plan. Now, somebody asked a question the other day. We passed legislation to allow for individual to produce their own power, electricity, alternative sources of energy, and we made a commitment. The government made a commitment that we would start shifting to renewable energy sources of power generation. The first question is what is this project costing us that's going to put us ahead of the curve and eliminate to some extent at least the outages caused by malfunctions in the generators. What is that? What is that costing us?
It's costing us approximately $48 million. And go ahead.
Oh, sorry, you go.
It's costing us about $48 million. We're putting generators at Popwood Pond. So in addition to upgrading the power plant, putting in the new engines, we also had to run 2 new transmission cables to give us capacity to bring the power from Popwood Pond to Longbush, and that will continue all the way to East End and to Virgin Gorda. That's an additional $6 million. And then there's some other expenses, like, which we can get into details if we need to later, but the total project cost is about $48 million.
Okay. So then the question is, if we are thinking about moving into renewable energy generation, why are we spending that $48 million on fossil fuel generators as opposed to alternative sources of energy right now?
Yeah, that's a great question, and we get it a lot.
Yeah.
So the thing is, if we try and integrate a high level of renewables in an unstable system now, it'll become even more unstable.
And what I mean,
Right.
what I mean in English.
More power outages. Because what happens is your primary renewable sources would be, for example, wind and solar. And so they depend on the weather. When the wind is going at a good speed, you get a certain amount of power. As soon as the wind dies down, the power output will die down. When that power output dies down, something has to be able to pick up that gap in capacity very quickly. If nothing is there to pick up that gap, then you have outages.
Okay. But we would have, so you're saying then what we're doing now is sort of like foundational for the transition?
Yes.
Right.
Is
It's
that
very important for the transition.
is that what
exactly.
you want us to believe?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I want you to believe that, yes. Because it's the truth. It is the truth. That's exactly right. Otherwise, we would get into a situation which we don't want to get into, where customers feel that, we put on all this renewable energy and it's made things worse, and therefore now they become averse to renewable energy. You want the two things. We've always indicated the two things have to go hand in hand, and it's actually more than the two things. It's having a solid generation base, your renewable energy such as your solar power, your wind power, maybe waste energy, these things, in addition to energy conservation, which is one that we've been pushing for a number of years. Energy conservation, using as little energy as you can.
Okay. So my understanding of renewable energy is that storage, generating capacity storage is really key to making sure that these systems, renewable systems, function optimally.
Well, what the storage would do, it would make the system more stable
Right.
in terms of the grid, because as Mr. Creaky rightfully pointed out, the higher level of penetration you have for renewables, it would destabilize the grid more. For example, if you have good sunlight and then you have cloud coverage right after, that's creating inertia on the grid, kind of like an up and down motion. So it destabilizes the grid and you have outages. So what the storage would do is essentially minimize the effect of that inertia.
Yeah. Well, that's my point. Yeah, that's the point I'm making, because and it's going back to what you want me to believe about this new foundational operation where you're carrying out, where you're spending $48 million to buy 2 to 3 new generators to have on standby, so that when the sun stops shining and the wind stops blowing, that we won't have to shed load. But I thought that the storage is supposed to make up for that and not the generator.
Okay, let me ask you a question in terms of storage. So how long do you think the storage would last? Let's say clouds come or the wind stops.
Yeah.
How long, just from your understanding, how long do you think the storage will last?
Well, I expect you to tell me that.
I will tell you, but I just want to know. I will tell you. I will definitely tell you. But I want to know it from from a layperson
perspective.
Yeah.
Right?
What is in your mind?
If I am building alternative energy system for my personal use, right? I want to have a storage capacity for at least a 12-hour period in the night.
Okay.
Right? That's just as an example.
Okay.
Right? So half the time when I'm sleeping, and when the sun is shining and the wind not blowing, I want to have battery power for that period, so that in the morning when I get up and the sun starts shining and the wind starts blowing again, then I'll replenish that system. So that's at a minimum what I would like to have.
Okay.
So in order for me not to have interruptions, which would be in your parlance would be outages.
Right.
Yeah.
So for us, even in terms of storage now, storage will be a part of the equation to integrate as much renewables onto the grid as possible. But in terms of battery storage, if we put more than an hour battery storage on our system, that would be huge. If you could imagine, 10, 20, 30 megawatts of battery storage for an hour, I don't even know if I property upon property remaining to put batteries to last, for say 20 megawatts for 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah.
So what the batteries do is they will give you a shorter period. So you would like 12 hours. So in our business, we would be thinking maybe more in terms of minutes, maybe 30 minutes, maybe half an hour, an hour maybe, right? So what it gives you is it gives you time. So when the wind slows down or the clouds cover the sun, it gives you enough time to start one of these extra generators. So let's say one of the generators is on standby, is not running, and you have the drop in renewables. So you have a window, 15 minutes, half an hour, where your guys can go downstairs and start up the engine, put it on load until you get renewables again.
Okay, but are there studies, or have we conducted studies, or can studies be conducted to show us what our wind production is during any given period of time? And I suspect that the study will be is not as reliable as we would like it to be, but can a average be taken, or a general perspective be given from checking our wind speeds on a daily basis over time and our sunlight on a daily basis over time to see how feasible that mode of alternative source would be able to fulfill our needs?
Certainly. We performed some of those studies, and some of the data is available publicly. So for example, there is wind data that is fairly reliable to the territory, and you can estimate, if I put this size windmill in this area, approximately how much power can I get from that per day or per year. Similarly for solar, you have what you call solar irradiation data that tells you on average this part of the world how much sunlight typically hits the ground, and so you could estimate what you would get from a solar farm of approximately this size in this area. So that is studied, yes.
Okay. So I want to continue. We have to take a break, but I want to continue the discussion along with in regards to the studies and its relationship to what we are implementing now, and the possible or the potential decentralization of power source in the electricity department, the BVI electricity department, for the territory, and how can that work in terms of renewable energies.
Okay.
We're gonna keep it locked right here, the spotlight. We're gonna come right back with more. It's a really interesting discussion. We'll be right back.
Spotlight is brought to you by CCTBVI Life Unlimited and the National Bank of the Virgin Islands, the official Bank of Paradise.
serving the community. For over 25 years, Tortola Concrete Limited is the leading producer of concrete products in the BVI. With grades of 3,000 to 5,000 PSI, Tortola Concrete ready mix quality unmatched in the industry, and we can mix to your specifications. Our aggregates are clean through our unique washing process for our smooth, clean mix. And our special chilling process makes our concrete crack resistant. Tortola Concrete Limited is the concrete company for all your quality concrete products. Gravel, road base, face stone, boulders, armor rock, coarse sand, terrace, and the cleanest, strongest, crack resistant, ready mix concrete. Tortola Concrete batch plan serve you Monday to Saturday, 7 a.m. until the last load. Our knowledgeable, effective staff gives you free estimate and delivers on time to any location. Contact Tortola Concrete at 494-3259, Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Conveniently located in Popwood Pond near the BVI electricity plant. At Tortola Concrete Limited, the strength is in the mix.
Life is like a mountain you must climb. Life is like a treasure you must find. A baby learning how to talk. With just one step begins to walk. One step at a time. We lead you to paradise. Your dreams are there to find. One step to paradise.
Facebook, Instagram, you name it, I have it.
I use it for my internet, Skype, WhatsApp, YouTube, everything.
I can upload photos, share files, have meetings.
The data is ridiculously fast.
And when they switch to this LTE, wow, the speed is incredible.
Unlimited, unlimited, unlimited.
I don't have to go, how much data do I have? It's there. The other networks, I could WhatsApp on this one.
I absolutely love it. You have to get it, BVI.
Thank you, CCP.
For decades, BVI has relied on financial services for its economic prosperity and the standard of living we've come to enjoy.
Times have changed. Competition has grown. International pressures have intensified, and the BVI must adapt.
BVI Forward is the government's strategy to strengthen the financial services industry. It is a campaign of far-reaching initiatives serving as the engine that will drive the continuing evolution and innovation of financial services in the BVI. This will help to maintain the territory's competitive advantage in the context of changing international regulatory landscape and growing competition.
There are 10 initiatives under the BVI Forward campaign. Revamp the International Finance Center, strengthen the business development function, engage the population, build BVI lender capability, pursue tax initiatives, enhance customer service at the Financial Services Commission, attract and offer value-added services, reform immigration and labor, invest in infrastructure, and establish a dedicated delivery unit to coordinate and drive implementation.
BVI Forward. It's about me, it's about you, it's about all of us.
It's about working together to safeguard the future prosperity of the British Virgin Islands.
Welcome back to
Spotlight is brought.
The Deputy General Manager of the BVI Electricity Corporation and the head of the Department of Generation, Mr. Cricky and Mr. Valak, and we're having a really, really interesting conversation about our power capacity, the new expansion project, and alternative energy sources. So I hope you've been listening, and of course you're going to be able to catch up on your spotlights on our Facebook page and jtvlive.net. So also we of course we broadcast on Sundays at 2:30 as well. So if you miss anything, make sure you tune in or you check out the website and check out the Facebook page. The information will be there. But this is a really interesting discussion. And we left off talking about alternative sources of energy and the production and the logistics of the production. I think is what because we want to categorize it. We could say that's what it was, and we were talking about how difficult it is for the storage, and that led me to the thought of decentralization of the generation, right? And then what is our role will be as individuals, as the citizens, to supply our own personal power generation, feed that back to you for other use, the excess that we don't use for other use, and to have that combination of wind and power, wind and solar and individual generation, along with the fossil fuel to make up a complete package. So I want to continue with the whole issue of storage regarding of the ability to keep us going while the sun is down, and we're talking about the studies, the sun and the wind is down, and we're talking about the studies that have been done, and I'm wondering, are those studies giving us any ideas of the feasibility of the transfer, of to the renewable sources?
We don't realistically see a full transfer to renewable sources in the short to medium term. The Ministry of Communication and Works actually has set a goal to produce essentially about 30% of our power from renewables by 2023, which is sooner than we think. And I would venture to say, well, maybe and included in that should be energy conservation and how that plays a role in reducing our carbon emissions, which is so it's an ambitious target, which we are trying to work with the ministry and lots of stakeholders. Actually, where I was on energy conservation and other stakeholders, one of the things that we've done through the Ministry of Communication and Works, we went probably to half of all the primary schools by now. Beaver Electricity Corporation, Ministry of Communication and Works, they were leading it. The Natural Resources and Labor, Solid Waste Department, Green, BI, and Water and Sewage. I hope I didn't forget anyone. But we started educating from the children on how to conserve energy, and what these goals are that we have, and what their role will be. And those were some excellent sessions, if I could say, with the schools. So we're starting there, trying to get them on board as well. When it comes to decentralizing power, we see that being through persons having primarily solar panels on their rooftops.
But what about the electricity corporation? Say, for example, you wouldn't have to have electricity coming from Tortola to go to Virgin Gorda or Anegada, Jocelyn Bay, and the other islands, because you could set up a system on each island and let each island generate its own capacity. Is that possible?
It's possible, but what?
I mean, why can't we have? Well, you have generators in Virgin Gorda, for example. They don't come from the electricity in Virgin Gorda comes from Packwood Pan or from Langbush.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Actually, the more interconnected your grid is, I mean, you want to have several generating sources if you can. The better it is. So in bigger countries, say for example, US and Europe and Central America, South America, they have interconnected grids. You have a power station somewhere on the East Coast, somewhere on the West Coast, somewhere in the Midwest, lots of power stations all over the place.
Right.
But they're all connected together. So if one power station has a problem, the other power station picks up a load So you still want them to be connected together.
Right.
But you want you want it'd be good to have additional power.
But
power
yeah,
sources.
that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. So
But is that helpful in terms of storage and
The
making
extra capacity.
and making the capacity more effective?
yes.
Yeah.
It is helpful. So after we finish at Pocket Pond, we'll have space for one more generator. That's the one that we spoke about earlier. And as the load growth, if the load growth continues, and we have to put in some base power generation, if that needs to come from fossil fuels, we are already seeing that we will have to build another power plant somewhere else on the island. Or perhaps on a different island. So we're looking at that as well, where if we have to have a major power generating source, where strategically would be the next best place. You have that, not all the power is coming from one place. And there are other benefits, you have technical benefits, because you could imagine if you have to push power from Pocket Pond all the way to Virgin Gorda, there are what you call losses in the lines in between. Right. So if you can generate more of the load closer to the
demand,
then you can reduce some of those losses as well. So we're considering that. And even with the renewables, if more persons as the renewable industry grows, and persons have doing some of their own generation from solar, then it reduces the need to transport power that far to them. So yes, there's some decentralization on a big scale and a small scale.
But no, I keep hearing in the BVA that it's a difficult thing to do because we don't have the sunlight. We can't predict the sunlight. We can't predict the wind jet power and other sources. But I've read of other places, and I've been here sitting racking my brain, trying to think of those places that are much bigger in size, those countries that are much bigger in size in the BVI, that are on full alternative energy generation. And
I don't know of any.
You don't know of any?
No.
Neither do I.
Because what is being encouraged is small countries setting an example like that. So if, for example, an island like Anegada is separate from the main grid, and you might be able to find a way to generate almost all of your power in Anegada from some sort of combination of renewable energy sources. And then you can use it as a model, and then the bigger countries can learn from those smaller models. So there are a few small islands. There's one island in the Bahamas that has gone very far. In the ABC Islands, Bonaire they're doing fairly well. Nowhere close to 100% as yet. They're using wind and diesel, right? But I've never heard of a system, our size or bigger on 100% renewables.
I can find it, and I'm sorry that I didn't have the presence of mind to have the names of countries, with hundreds of thousands of persons demanding and using other sources of energy, because it seems to me like the new technology, the cost reduction, and the systems. It makes it's becoming increasingly feasible. Of course, we have situations where the fluctuation in oil prices is such that whenever you start thinking, for some reason, whenever you start thinking about going into renewable energy sources, the price goes down, the price of oil goes down. The price of oil goes down. So they keep you, say, oh well, it's no longer economically feasible to go because look at the price of oil now. And I mean, my light bill gone from $250 to $125, and so I mean, you could. So my plans for my windmill and my solar panel is gone out the window. That's true. So, but it seems to me like it's a trick.
We can never guess what the oil cartel is doing, right?
So we need to go ahead in any case and get this done so that we could reduce at least considerably our dependence on fossil fuel. And and yes, it's all about the carbon footprint and conservation and environmental issues and so on. But it's about economics.
Economics,
It's about economics. So so what are we thinking about in that regard when it comes to a transition off of fossil fuel? Do we have a long-term plan or medium-term plan?
It's about a 10-year plan. So the Ministry of Communication and Works is just now finalizing what is going to be called the energy policy for the territory. And this policy was developed with a very wide stakeholder input. Led by the ministry and BVIEC, we've had consultation with many sectors in the public sector, in the BVI, and the private sector. And we've come up with an energy policy, and it is before Cabinet now. Cabinet is reviewing it at this time. And once Cabinet passes it, then that will be the basic roadmap for where the territory will go with regards to energy over approximately the next 10 years. So I mentioned to you one of the main goals in it is reducing our dependence on fossil fuels by at least 30% by 2023, which is only 7 years.
Okay, yeah.
And there's specific actions that we will take to achieve that, to help to educate the public, to make sure we have a secure grid. So you don't disenfranchise one sector of your community to benefit another.
So can I right now install my combination wind power and solar power generation and feed it back into the electricity corporation grid? To feed back my excess into the corporation's grid? Can I do that right now?
No, you have to, first of all, you have to apply to the ministry for permission. And we had hoped to be at this stage where that permission would be almost automatic. We have passed the legislation, maybe close to a year now ago, we passed legislation allowing it. But we also now have to pass the regulations to govern how it works, the technical part of how it works. And that has taken us some time. Our consultants worked with us on developing some terms for that. It has gone to government, so the AG's chambers and the ministry, they've had their review of it, and now it is back with the corporation to incorporate their proposal and send it back. So with developing laws and so on, it does take a lot of time.
Are we ready infrastructurally though?
Infrastructurally, yes, we're ready infrastructurally. We do have to do some more.
The grid is there, the technology is there, the computers are there.
Yeah, but we do have to do some more in terms of our capacity, in terms of which we are. The electrical inspection unit they've been doing some training and getting up to speed, because they're the ones who are going to have to inspect these systems, make sure they're in line with the code and they're safe. Beaver Electricity as well will have to make sure that we're not going to have any issues with persons speeding back on illegally. How we're going to monitor that? So there's some capacity building that needs to be done in both in the between government, electricity, and even the electricians who are going to be installing these items. So that training, the college is working on a program to do that training.
Okay,
and they do something actually already.
But can I get a professional to install, say, my solar panels in my generating capacity, separate and apart from the grid then?
Yeah, you can have it now.
Just like how I have
a
backup generator.
Yes. With the permission from the ministry, yes. And they've granted lots of individuals and businesses permission to do that as a backup. They've granted lots of permissions they've granted so far.
Okay, we're gonna take another quick break, and when we come back, we fallen on the 38 o'clock already.
Mm-hmm.
So when we come back, I want to talk about the completion of the project, when we expect the project to be completed, and what can we do as individuals in terms of conservation and even generating our own power. Right after these words from our sponsors, keep it locked right to Spotlight.
Spotlight is brought to you by Tortola Concrete Limited, and CTL Home Center. The best products for the lowest prices, period.
Sing BVI, wheel them to the sky, rock from side to side, vacation for you and I. Hands, sing BVI, wheel them to the sky, rock from side to side, vacation for you and I. Come out and enjoy your country. Local foods like fish and fungi, places you can afford. Enjoy hotel sailing and more. Me tell them, no need to go nowhere. We have what you need right here. Relax at our resorts and take a sightseeing tour. Come on out and you should take this opportunity to have a vacation station for you and me. Me tell them, hands, sing BVI, wheel them to the sky, rock from side to side, vacation for you and I.
And now it's time to plan your BVI staycation. Visit us at www.bvistaycation.com. This is a message from the BVI Tourist Board's Staycation campaign.
The other provider promises a lot. I heard them say they are fast, but are they really?
How long I gotta wait to get connected?
I tried them already and they let me down. All these ads about networks have me confused.
Who can I really trust?
I use a lot of data.
Who can I depend on?
I'm scared to switch.
What if something goes wrong?
Who can I really trust?
I'm scared to switch.
Huh?
Beep beep. Ooh yeah. Oh yeah, baby. For decades, BVI has relied on financial services for its economic prosperity and the standard of living we've come to enjoy.
Times have changed. Competition has grown. International pressures have intensified, and the BVI must adapt.
BVI Forward is the government's strategy to strengthen the financial services industry. It is a campaign of far-reaching initiatives serving as the engine that will drive the continuing evolution and innovation of financial services in the BVI. This will help to maintain the territory's competitive advantage in the context of changing international regulatory landscape and growing competition.
There are 10 initiatives under the BVI Forward campaign. Revamp the International Finance Center, strengthen the business development function, engage the population, build BVI lander capability, pursue tax initiatives, enhance customer service at the Financial Services Commission, attract and offer value-added services, reform immigration and labor, invest in infrastructure, and establish a dedicated delivery unit to coordinate and drive implementation.
BVI Forward. It's about me, it's about you, it's about all of us.
It's about working together to safeguard the future prosperity of the British Virgin Islands.
Welcome back to Spotlight. We left off talking about the completion of the project and what we can do as individuals to help to become more energy self-sustainable and move away from fossil fuel, not only from a standpoint of protection of the environment, but from economic reduction of dependence on fossil fuel and the costs when the price of oil go back up, as we know it will. Okay. And we're under the Terranina clock, but someone sent me the information I was talking about. There are some places that have 100% renewable energy sources, and Paraguay, for example, is one of them. Iceland is another one. Albania is another one. Of course, they have a combination of sources, and some of those sources are perhaps more effective and efficient than others.
So some of those sources, for example, Iceland, I think their primary source is geothermal power. They have heat from in the ground from volcanoes, and that can be used for what you call base load steady power generation. We don't have that kind of volcanic activity in the BVI. We don't have access to that. Others like Montserrat, Dominica, they're exploring some geothermal power because they have that. Some places like Paraguay, they also have, one is they have big rivers. And these
so
rivers
they have hydroelectricity.
Right,
Yes.
so they can have hydro. And the other good thing about a place like Paraguay is they can interconnect to the countries next to them. So you can produce even more from renewable energy than you consume, and any excess you just sell to your neighbors. And then when, let's say, your water levels are low, you have had a drought, at those times you import. But as a net, you would be 100% renewable, maybe even 110%. But you are interconnected to somebody else, so that when that source is not there, you still can have power.
So, and of course, for us, well, for me personally, as a personal ideology, independence and self-sustainability is key phrases. For me, I'm sure that as a national security issue, we would want to be able to generate our own power and our own energy when we need it, and how much of it we need. So, but there's gonna be another discussion. There's gonna be another discussion.
We have a reason to come back now.
Yeah, we have a reason to come back. But listen, you have to come back anytime you want. So don't worry yourself about that. I always welcome this kind of discussion.
We appreciate that.
So when we understand the generators ready to go on the block, but they somewhere out in the hab or somewhere sitting down. So where exactly are the generators, when they come in to go on, when they get in on the block, and when we expect to have them up and running so that we could eliminate these power outages?
We have so the generators are now out in the harbor. 3 of them on a ship out there. So as soon as the Port Authority gives them clearance, they'll put them on the dock. And we actually will be taking them down to Parkwood Pond. So from Port Purcell to Parkwood Pond next week.
And you're going to be careful.
Extremely careful. Extremely careful.
Right.
So I'd like to use this opportunity to let the public know next week, between Sunday and Thursday nights. We haven't nailed down exactly which nights. Right now it seems like most likely it will be Sunday night, Tuesday night, and Thursday night between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. We will essentially have the Blackburn Highway closed at Sir Francis Drake in some areas from Port Purcell to Parkwood Pond to move those engines between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. on those nights.
Okay. And
more information to come about that.
Okay. So you have to choose alternate routes to get West End.
Exactly. Yes. If you're traveling, if you need to go
between
point A and point B across those routes, you would have to select an alternate route. We'll have persons on the road directing traffic to show you where the roads are closed. We will try not to close the entire road for the whole time, but we will definitely have to close very long sections of the road during that period, and so we are asking for the public's cooperation at those times.
And this is a major operation. Moving the generators, I expect them as a big, huge generators. So moving the generators from the Port Purcell to Parkwood Pond is a major operation that's going to be properly coordinated with the traffic, with the police and all the officials, and making sure that to make sure that the traffic flows an alternate route smoothly as well.
That's correct.
And so we'll be getting more information on radio, television, and on websites.
That's right.
And Facebook on about that information.
That's right.
That's great. So
I was gonna, I probably, I think the question you're gonna ask me, I asked it before, and when can we expect them to be online?
Yes.
So currently the projected date for the contract completion for the first 2 engines is the end of December. So our contractors haven't advised us that it has been delayed in any way as yet. So we are expecting and hoping that those engines will be online by the end of this year, first 2 engines. And the 3rd engine no later than about March of 2017.
Okay, but the 3rd engine is like a if necessary engine, or the 4th engine is a if necessary engine. Like, I think we're
the 4th
Yes,
is
the 4th,
necessary.
yes.
Okay, so the 3 definitely coming on.
Yeah.
And once we're gonna get we have to wait till all them run at the same time, or we gonna be able to get one running
One at a time.
one at a time, running at a time.
Yeah.
So we'll see a significant reduction of power outages by the end of the year.
That's the expectation.
That's the
That-
expectation.
yes.
All right, great. I think we've now let me see. We got Well, quickly, what should we be doing as individuals in terms of conservation? I mean, of course, buying light bulbs.
That's actually the cheapest. Actually, I just installed 2 LED light bulbs in my room, in the bedroom alone, and saw a significant reduction in my light bill. So
yes.
you can imagine, I mean, energy conservation for me is key.
Yeah.
That you can immediately start to implement energy conservation in your home, and it's very cheap. You know, talking about solar water heaters, LED lights, and it significantly reduces your bill.
Okay. And of course, turn off your lights when you're not
When you're
using
not-
them,
exactly.
and all your appliances and so on when you're not using them.
Yeah.
And we have all this electronic equipment that have lights on them, and they on
All
24
the time.
hours a day.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we could need to. I guess you could buy a one of those extension things.
Yeah, a power strip, just turn it
power
off,
strip and turn
all
it
them
off.
gone.
All them
Yeah.
gone one time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your AC is try not to run them too cool if you don't have to, because the
Right.
ACs are a big loader in the BBI.
Yes.
Conserve water and conserve electricity at the same time. The hot water especially takes a lot of time. If you conserve water, people don't realize if you conserve water, you also conserve electricity, because we have some massive water plants on the territory that produce water
Yes.
from salt water. So
Yes.
even if you conserve water, you're also conserving
Conserving
electricity too.
And of course, you minimize, you reduce the use of your water pump,
Right.
which
Cutting.
right.
Save electricity
Save
as well.
electricity as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, because how expensive now is buying solar panels and having an alternative source of energy, renewable energy.
The prices I've seen for a typical house are maybe in the $10,000 to $20,000 range. So it's a significant
It's an investment.
investment.
Yeah.
It's a significant investment, but it's a good investment.
And it pays for itself over time.
Yeah.
Great. Listen, Brother Quickie, Brother Valak, it was a real pleasure. And you guys don't have to have no special occasion to come back to talk about whatever you're doing.
Okay.
And I'm surprised that you ain't used this avenue before, but better late than
Right.
Yes.
Exactly.
So thanks for coming by and sharing this information. I'm sure the public is going to be very pleased with the information and try to allay some of their fears and encourage hope.
Thank you.
Exactly. Thank you very much for having us.
Really appreciate it.
Great of you to come by. Next week, the Spotlight will focus on the fears, consequences, requirements, and costs of independence. Yes, this is going to be a big discussion on Spotlight. I have a very interesting and important guest that's going to be coming by and talk about, why we fear independence. What do we need to be independent? What's going to cost us? What are we going to require? What's going to be the consequences? So those are discussions and issues that we're going to be talking about next Tuesday on Spotlight. Make sure you be here, tell your family to tune in and listen to the discussion. Of course, Spotlight is seen every Tuesday here at JTV, Channel 55 live at 8 p.m. and we broadcast Sundays at 2:30 p.m. Watch Spotlight on demand at jtvlive.net, like our Facebook page at facebook.com/SpotlightBVI. Catch up with the latest spotlights and check for upcoming guests and topics on our Facebook as well. I'm Edjuenka, reminding you that when the spotlight is on, you see the facts. Peace and blessings.
Spotlight is brought to you by Ocean Conversion BVI Limited and BVI Tourist Board. We are one BVI.